Hey everyone, my name is David Rao. I'm the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. I just wanted to take a few minutes today to share about two books that are really wonderful books that you might consider purchasing and using in your music classroom as you start to get ready for Hispanic Heritage Month. I know not everyone celebrates Hispanic Heritage Month, but it's great to include a diverse group of musicians and a diverse group of stories when you're teaching your students. And these two books are really great musician profiles, biography books about two Hispanic heritage musicians. And so I thought I'd share them because they would just be perfect for Hispanic Heritage Month, which runs September 15th through October 15th. So something to start thinking about as you prepare for the next month. And I'm going to read just an excerpt of both of these books. They're really fun books. They do give a lot of detail and still make the books and the musicians accessible for students. But I just wanted to say before that usually I say, these are great books. I have an Amazon list, but you can find them on discount book websites. I just looked on Amazon, and actually these books are both each one is under $10. So that's pretty cool if you can get it brand new for under $10. But I put the link for the Amazon page with all the biography books that I think are great to have. I put that link in the comments, or not the comments, in the caption for this video. But that's if you're interested, if you want, you can check those out. So let me just read a little bit of an excerpt from each one of these books so you can sort of see how it works and learn a little bit more about it so you can get a good view of it in case you're interested in getting it for your classroom and using it with your students. So the first book I want to share about today is called Celia Cruz, Queen of Salsa. This is written by Veronica Chambers and illustrated by Julie Marin. So it starts out, in the fabled land of Havana, where rhythm grows sweet and juicy, like oranges in Florida, there lived a girl. She looked like a girl and talked like a girl, but everyone who ever met her agreed. She sang like a bird. When Celia Cruz was a girl growing up in Cuba, she could never hear the magic others claimed was in her voice. When she opened up her mouth to sing, she heard a girl like any other, but when she sang, her father heard thunder. Her cousins heard the call of the sea. Her neighbors heard a hummingbird. Celia would grow up to be a queen, but she was not born a princess. She grew up in a poor section of town, one of 4 sisters, though the house was also home to numerous cousins. At times there were as many as 14 children in the 2-bedroom house. Still, young Celia always stood out amongst the crowd. Her mother liked to tell the story of how a tourist bought Celia's first pair of shoes after hearing the little girl sing. Like other girls in Havana, she had chores. Some of her friends were charged with sweeping the kitchen. Other girls washed the dinner plates. Celia's job was to sing lullabies to put her young brothers and sisters to sleep. What a cool tie-in if you're teaching lullabies. At night, her voice carried through the windows, rolling along the cobblestone streets like a wheel or a wish. The people in her neighborhood began to gather outside of her family's front door, begging her father to leave it open. They said, "Her voice is tan dulce, sweet like azúcar." Her voice, it was said, sent you not only to sleep, but to a nighttime land of angel dreams. Always shy, and more than a little independent, Celia mistook the gathering crowds for busybodies, watching her every move. "Ay, por favor," she pleaded. "If you don't leave, these little ones will never get to sleep." Despite her initial shyness, she could not stop singing. In the afternoon after school, she would listen to the rapid-fire calls and cries of the pregón, the street vendors calling out their wares. In time, people would recognize the passion and pulsating cries of the pregón in Celia's unique vocal style. Okay, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. And by the way, it is interspersed with some Spanish language, which is really great. I, however, have been this whole week is we're talking about vocabulary words in school. So I have Italian pronunciation in my head. So I did not prep and check through all those words to make sure I'm pronouncing right. So you might have a little pronunciation guide handy in case you're ooh, how does that word go? So it does tell a little bit more about Celia and how she started singing more in high school. It talks a little bit about the songbird and how that sort of ties in with her story, Singing Like a Bird. And this is fun. Her father loved to watch his little songbird, watch her send 100 hearts soaring with her melodies. But he was also cautious. "Keep studying, mija," he told her as she hummed old Cuban love songs while absent-mindedly flipping the pages of her school books. "You're so smart. Forget about singing. Become a school teacher and make our family proud." But then her teachers are like, "Actually, no." Her teachers, however, saw things a different way. "Take a chance," one professor told her. "With your voice, you could earn in a day what it takes me a year to make." That is hard truth. That is a hard truth. Anyway, it's a really fun story. It goes on. It talks about how she was able to start singing with a group, talent contests. She jumped at every opportunity. It does also talk about some hardships she's faced. They're a no-name singer singing with a band that people liked, and then when she was singing later on, there was a lot of pushback for Celia, and there was racism as well, and problems and things going on. It talks about how she left Cuba and came to sing in the United States. She sang at the Hollywood Palladium, and it goes through and tells her story. Let me jump here towards the end. But it has just these beautiful, vibrant photos. Talks more about salsa music and how she became sort of an ambassador for salsa music all around the world. And people kept saying azúcar, which means sugar in Spanish, because her voice was so sweet. They said it perfectly described her. So that's another fun thing that sort of came back is a cool theme in this book. The birds and the sugar. So it's a really, really wonderful book with beautiful photos. At the end, it does give some more history about Celia Cruz and about her life and her time as a recording artist and all of that. And also in the back, it does have a glossary with those Spanish language words, what they actually mean, their pronunciations. And then a discography where it talks about some of her biggest hits and some things that you might consider if you're interested in playing more music. I think musical biography books like this are great to use with students. They're really awesome if you can hand them to like a homeroom teacher and say, "Here's this amazing book for Hispanic Heritage Month about a musician, and I'm going to send you a link to a video on YouTube that you might consider watching with it." Or you can put these in a subtub, and it's great to have the substitute read the musical biography and then have them show a video of that actual person performing, if a video exists. Some of the biographies are for older musicians or whatever who there aren't videos for, but for something like Celia Cruz, you could pull up at least some musical examples, and it'd be really cool to show that and use that in a subtub. What an easy sub lesson, or part of a sub lesson. How cool would that be? So Celia Cruz, Queen of Salsa. That's the first book. The next book I wanted to share is one that actually someone recommended to me after the last video when I shared about 2 other books that you could use in Hispanic Heritage Month. Someone said, "You got to check this one out." And this is called When Angels Sing, the story of rock legend Carlos Santana. This is written by Michael Maheen, I think, and art by Jose Ramirez. So another just beautiful, beautiful book. The pictures are really great. Let me read just a little bit of this. "Your father, like your grandfather before him, was a traveling musician. You missed him when he went away. You missed the soapy smell of maja on his skin and the smile in his eyes, but most of all you missed the sound of his violin. When he was home, people would crowd the square to hear him play. It was a sound that filled the world with magic and love and feeling and healing. It was a sound that made angels real. You wanted to make angels real, too. First you tried el clarinete, but the buzzy reed was too fussy for your nose. Then you tried el cornero, grandfather's instrument, but the taste of brass was too bitter on your lips. Finally you tried el violin. You scratched and squeaked and practiced so hard your tears stained its wood, but it would not sing for you, not like it sang for your father. There were no angels when you played, not yet at least. When I'm good enough, they will come, you thought." And then it tells a little bit more about his life growing up and some of the sounds that he heard growing up, and a little bit about the area and the place where he grew up, to give just a little bit of context. Talks a little bit about when they moved to Tijuana, and some of the musicians that he heard there and some of the different kinds. And it talked about his father forced him to learn more songs, Mozart, Brahms, polkas, boleros, gypsy music. You must put your heart into it, he said. You could not. This is not the music my angels want to hear, you thought. This is what they do not sing. This is why they do not sing for me. So some of the other musical styles he heard, and it just wasn't working. Your mother knew you loved music, even though you hated the violin. One day, she took you to Palacio de Municipal Park, with its bustling walkways and chiming carts. You heard the blues before, but you had never seen how the music was made. You had never seen someone play la guitarra, at least not like this. The hair on your arms stood up. An angel's breath, you thought. One element I really love about these books, I'm just going to stop real quick, is up here there's sort of a watermark that gives a date. So, let's see, there should be more of those here. Oh, yeah. So, like, it'll sort of show you the time and the date that gives you a little bit of context as you're sort of placing him in his story. Your father was away as usual, but your mother sent him a letter. After saving enough money, he sent home una guitarra. It was battered and bruised and beautiful. And then it talks a little bit about how he got into it, how he sort of taught himself a little bit about it. I love it says, you closed your eyes and let your ears lead the way, and you taught yourself to follow the plunk of el piano, and the bounce of el bajo, and the sway of el saxophone, and most importantly, the groove of la guitarra, as he's listening to the radio. You collected the ingredients and marinated your soul in them, and learned that playing the blues was not about the color of your skin or which part of town you came from. It was about feeling the music. You did not put your heart into it like your father had said. Instead, you let the music put its heart into you. So, super amazing story. It goes in to tell about how he moved, how he kept playing, some of the things that he had to deal with, how he didn't get a job in San Francisco right away, and some of the things that sort of went into his story. It's a longer story, so it'd be a great one to, again, maybe put in a subtab or use over time. I want to get to this part. Let's see. The Santana Blues Band. Get to the big reveal. When he plays at Woodstock in 1969. The Santana Blues Band was big in San Francisco, but there in New York, at the muddy Woodstock Music Festival, you were unknown, unsteady, and scared. But on that day, in front of more than 400,000 people that you didn't know, you took the stage anyway. You looked out into the audience, hoping for a miracle, hoping for something to tell you that you were good enough, hoping that you had been wrong to stop believing in angels. But there were no angels out there. There had never been angels out there, and suddenly you knew why. You took the stage, and you stopped looking out, and you started looking in, and at least you heard your angels sing. So, super cool book. Again, there's an author's note at the back that gives more history about Carlos Santana, a little bit more about his life. There are, again, a couple things for further listening, but this is another one that you could very easily find a video to go along with the lesson, and you could either use it in your own classroom, you could use it by giving it to a homeroom teacher and giving them a couple ideas, you could put it in a subtab, all great things. I think When Angels Sing, I put the link to Amazon. I think it's like $10, $9 for a brand new copy, and Celia Cruz I think is $7. There's another book on that list on Amazon about Tito Puente, another great book that you could use, and there are a couple more that you might want to get just to have in your classroom, to use for Black History Month, to use for subtub or any other time of year. But I put all of those in that Amazon list so you can find them and see the title, look a little bit into them. And then if you find it at a bookstore or you find it somewhere else, that's great. But some of them are actually pretty cheap on Amazon. Anyway, these two books are really great books. You might consider getting them and using them this month, because remember, Hispanic Heritage Month starts September 15th, runs through October 15th. So Celia Cruz, Queen of Salsa, or When Angels Sing, the story of rock legend Carlos Santana. Both great books. I have another video coming later in the next week to share a few more books that you might consider using for Hispanic Heritage Month. But thanks for tuning in and watching this one. I hope this gave you a couple ideas. Thanks so much, everyone.